So I work as a global architect, which is equivalent to technical director inside the company. So I think I have got a slot which is like half an hour or 40 minutes after the lunch, and that's like everybody want to just sleep at that time, take a nap. So I'll possibly start with a question for you guys so that you all can have little bit thinking around. How many of you from the audience are actually part of security teams? You can just, me, I'm the one. Okay, here's Amit. Okay, great. And how many of you, I suppose other people will be a part of risk teams or the education fraternity or students, right? How many of you are students? Okay, large number of guys. And how many of you want to get into cyber security? Let me see. Okay, good. So guys, cyber security is not very interesting. It's like sucks when you have to look at the alerts, when you have to look at the events, when you have to do security monitoring. I have done it for some part of my life, and it really sucks though. But when you find out something and when you are able to unearth it, the sort of satisfaction that you get, and on the top of that, the value add to the organization, to your organization, because you probably are one of them, maybe in hundreds or thousands, who are able to use their analysis to unearth something which is like was in the wild. And that gives you a lot of certification and a lot of apprehension from the management. So while the whole process of many days sucks, but finally it's a very good feeling, and you get on with a beer and possibly some awards and so on. Okay, so there have been a lot of deviations and patterns in last few years that we have been seeing in terms of the way cyber criminals have been trying to fish out information and trying to make money out of it. So while we have it right now, I would have asked this as a question, but in 2017, to the surprise of everybody, the key record which was sought after in the dark web was actually healthcare record. It was not financial record. It was not government record. It was not the personal ID for now, but it was actually the health record. And why it was that? Because the way this whole dark web is working right now, the whole model goes the way our career goes. So we start at the start, we have got a lot of energy, we burn ourselves, then we make a lot of money, and then we get onto some maturity stage, and then we say, hey, hang on, let's do something else. And that's how it is. So there have been a lot of money made out in the financial records. So the pattern has moved on to the healthcare. And over a period of time, while GDPR, what Kavita was mentioning, is pretty much becoming a compulsion, is going to hit multiple countries, that itself will make the identity, which as far as our country just floats around everywhere. But in a due period of time, it will make identity a very interesting thing and a very interesting asset for these dark web hackers to look on, and that will replace this health record with the identity record. Okay. So now, again, the second thing that we see, that why we have so many challenges in a couple of years in the cybersecurity. It looks like very complex, but it's not that complex actually. So digital transformation is something which is going on from the last few years. It has been going on in Indian context as well, but as far as the global context, it has been there in the last 14, 15 years. And now, in many countries, it is sort of reaching a quasi-maturity stage. Now, what digital transformation does and why it is a beast for cybersecurity. Because the whole idea of digital transformation is actually to bring the set of services which was rendered manually, the set of checks which was done manually, the set of policies which was set manually, to sort of automate it with the help of technology. Now there's a use of AI which is going on. Now we have ML. We are also picking up in blockchain, so we see a lot of blockchain technology coming up. Then on the software side, we see there are architectures which are coming up, like microservices, like Node.js and those kind of frameworks, which has come up through the development fraternity to suffice this particular digital transformation journey. And what it does is that it is actually creating a very complex mapping within the different contexts or different parameters which were initially not connected to each other. And that means that we are actually going to deal a very complex problem in the future. And I'll show you how complex it is going to be, which we have some facts today, but definitely those facts have to come in, and they're going to hit almost all the security analysis teams which you would be part of in the future. And so here are a few things that I wanted to take up before that. And guys, this is a little bit technical section, so bear with me. So there are some basic things, and that basic things are actually making this whole problem complex. One of the basic things that we see today is actually the persistent fileless malware. So let me ask you, how many of you know about this persistent fileless malware? Anybody from the security teams? Okay. So you would have heard that in last few years, antivirus has been, you work on your laptops and you work on your desktop PCs and so on and so forth. There are enterprises who are working on their own infrastructures of Windows or Linux, and they all have antivirus. How does the antivirus work? Antivirus work on a very simple technology. It has got a library of signatures, and whenever a particular packet is coming in through the socket, it is going to look at those signatures and is going to match with those packets, okay? How he's going to do that? He's going to do that in the file. He's not going to do that in runtime. Why? Because your PC can't support it. It doesn't have enough capacity with respect to the CPU's power and the memory and so on and so forth to run that. So that's how the antivirus used to work. Now, how do hackers really manipulate that? The way they manipulate that is they say, okay, we are not going to deliver the whole packet on the file. We don't need that. There's enough memory, which you call as a random memory. And many of these programs and operating system, over a period of time, they started using these run memories, okay? So there is enough memory available for us. And we are going to hit our stream directly into the memory, execute that, because the OS is anyway supporting it, and we're going to run the logic from there. So nowhere it is going to run into the file. And thus, the whole antivirus stuff, it came into a jinx in last 2 years. And you can see ransomwares and other things started hitting the people. So that's what is known as persistent fileless malware. So that's a problem. Even today is a problem. Antivirus companies are trying to figure out how to deal with this. But over a period of time, we would see that there's a new generation of antivirus, which is next-gen antivirus, become a standard, and the current antivirus is completely obsolete. And this is going to happen within 2 or 3 years, as fast as that. I think, did I miss something? Okay. So let's look. What is the information security burden? It's a huge burden. We have Satish as a CISO here, and this is something that he can talk hours and hours on that. And when you become a part of somebody like his team, you have to deal with this in real time because he's going to ask you, right? So, so it starts from everything. It starts from the CIA principle that you have been learning all the while, you have been practicing all the while. It starts with some of the standards like the ISOs, the PCI DSS, some of those versions, maybe with the privacy, maybe with the cybersecurity, maybe with the physical security, maybe with the compliances, maybe with the vulnerability management, maybe with something else, and so on and so forth. The list is just increasing for CISOs to actually take care of it. So it's a very hard, complex thing because of the way that I told you that the digital transformation is affecting us, the nature of the viruses are affecting us, or the malwares are affecting us, and the kind of techniques which they are getting used is also affecting us. More than that, there have been a huge transformation, or I would not say transformation, it is going towards that, is the adoption of cloud. Now the cloud, when you see cloud, nothing is constant. So you may have your own environment, right, in your organization. So you have a constant sets of things there. You have a Windows environment, you have a Linux environment, there are Windows operating systems, vendor has released it, there are patches, then you have got servers, you create tiers, you put your DBs, you put your application servers, everything is systemized and everything is in the right order, okay? But when it comes to cloud, it isn't. Why? Because the whole idea of cloud is disruptive. You want to be limitless. You don't want to say that, okay, I can't put data because I don't support it. I support it. You want to take some 10 GB of data or 10 TB of data or maybe 100 TB of data. It doesn't matter in cloud. Just keep on growing it. So where are the boundaries? There are no boundaries. So who is going to work? When there are no boundaries, who's going to work the whole process from the security point of view? And how are you going to work? And how are you going to comply to all this, including the local country laws, as well as the standard laws of the industry in which you are working? So that's a big problem. So guys, one thing I must tell you that this session is on problems. I think we have a fantastic session coming up, which is going to be on solution, which Amit is going to take. So let's look at another vector, which is phishing. So back in 2012, we assumed, as an industry, that phishing is dead. The email is dead. There's no spam anywhere. And all the mails that you get is like, okay, there's no spam. From last 30 days, I haven't received any spam. And it is potentially out of the security risk of the companies. And then the relevant, many things, it changed, and then people were moved into different technology. The whole category was shut in, and those things, they happened. But what happened? And that's the news, and that's I would say that's a lesson for the entire security fraternity, that the dark web and the hackers, they use this dead thing. They said, okay, nobody is actually looking at it. It is something which is already dead. And the existing security systems are not updating, and the vendors are not updating. People don't have people who are going to who are looking at the emails. So let's use that. And it worked. How? We are struggling with ransomware. Maybe many of you are already affected, right? It worked. So, and the way it worked is, you would see that they have used social engineering. They have integrated a lot of other vectors with email. They integrated social engineering with email. They integrated malwares in email. That was pretty new. They integrated some sort of scripting things inside email, which is going to create something which we know as reverse shelling, okay? So these kind of things, which we also know as code injection. So they start integrating these things. So integrated 2-3 vectors inside the email, and that now in last year, it was actually the highest, one of the highest category which was identified, and the whole security fraternity is now saying that, okay, you may have a good security practice, but can you handle ransomware? And from where the ransomware is coming, it is coming through emails. So can you handle emails? And many of the CISOs are just thinking, wait a minute, 3 years, 4 years back, we were not even investing, and now we have to take care of it. Another important thing is that why, in this context, that why we still, what are the other factors that even after having these technological issues of a persistent malware, the email stuff, the digital transformation, but on the other hand, we have got teams, we've got so many people working. So why is it still security is not being taken care of properly, and why we are still talking about security, and why we will still talk about security in the next 10 years, is one of this metric. Even today, this is the metric, these are all real metrics, by the way. So even today, it takes close to around, for a developed country, we talk about US, we talk about, oh, Trump just yesterday said they are not, so anyways, the UK and Singapore, if we take all these places, they still take close to about 60 to 70 days to find out that they have been breached. That's a big number. That's a big number of days. It's about 60 to 70 days. And for the country like us, which are still trying to catch up to the whole scenario, it could be like 220 days, or maybe a year, or maybe we don't even know. It's all going on. Everything is gone, and then, yeah, we are still there. So breach detection, these statistics, it really shows that all the preparation that the security fraternity has been doing for all these years, this is the result. And why this is the result is because of those factors that I have told you before, and because of few other things that I would like to tell you right now. Is, let me take up a question on that. We all access Google, right? We all, maybe for a person like me, for everything I go to Google. It gives me all the answers, right? So for developers, they go to Google, take out the code, and then they paste it, they do some changes, and get along with that, right? Many of them who you are developers, you have done it n number of times. So how much do you think that internet that you use is actually a percentage of total internet, which is available globally? Anybody who can answer that? 3%, one answer is 3%, okay. 5%, 4%, and why is that? Let's say 4%, why is that? But why is that? Why only 4%? Okay, and why it is not used? Okay, so the official percentage which is available to everybody, which we call says that, okay, there's too much on internet, is about 6%. So the rest of 94% is actually dark web. So you can see the size of problem that we are into right now, okay? So when we say, okay, yeah, we looked at internet, we looked at sites, we looked at other things, it all looks to be fine, all HTTPS and this and that and blah, blah. It's all secure. No, it's not, because there's 94% in there, which you don't even have access. And you have to use specialized browsers, and you have to use specialized, I'm not going to tell you anyway right now. So to do to do it, and then when you access it, you get all kind of information, from gold to diamond to junk, everything. And then actually you can sort of figure it out that, okay, this is how it is. This is how much internet knows about me, myself, even though I haven't put a lot of things on internet, right? So the magnanimity of the size of the data that the hackers have access is much more than we can see, which our normal teams can also see, which our security teams can also see. And because of that, we are not able to find out that whether what we are thinking is really the problem, or the problem is much more bigger than that. So this is a Gartner slide. We just participate with them many places. And then I thought that this would be sort of a good slide to present. And you can see the economy. I'm not saying it, Gartner is saying it, so let's believe that they have a good set of network around, at least from the standpoint of assessing the impact. And the whole damn thing from 16 to 18, the number of blocks, the colors, the type of colors, and which may be like the way the payments can be done, the way it is including in the different verticals, the way breaches have increased, the number of payments, the amount of payment, the kind of industry is all what is representing these blocks. So that's sort of increasing, and we will see that this trend will still increase because of many factors. There has to be a sort of a centralized command center, monitoring, and a whole lot of things have happened globally. A lot of cooperation is required among the corporate fraternity, among the government bodies to actually bring this down. Otherwise, this is not coming down. Good for career, us. Good for security career for you guys. So having some kind of idea about the way things are going on, what is really the companies are struggling? Three things: people, process, technology. They are struggling in all the parameters. There's not even one parameters that they are not struggling. So you talk to anybody, you go to any enterprise, you talk to any CISO, he's today struggling in all the three parameters. And why? I've already sort of discussed. So let's see how this problem, let me make this problem for you from 0 to 100, and why this security analysis is such a difficult thing. And I see that the current fraternity, the security fraternity, current people that we have here in this room, if everyone goes on job, we will still be whole lot of less number of guys that will be required to actually secure our country, secure the companies, and secure the global enterprises as well. And you can see now, okay? So to manage a particular environment, the company or an enterprise needs to have various kind of products, because no one product actually gives them a liberty to look at different kind of threats. And that's why they end up having many, many products over a period of time. And that's what this shows, right? And so this can be like the firewalls, the NGFWs, the web security, the email security, the VA stuff, the PT stuff, the cloud security stuff, the brokers, there are so many of them. And then they all are throwing a lot of events. People who are here, who are basically in the security fraternity, they would know that how many number of events or alerts are basically thrown by only single firewall. They're huge. And how do you see that? And now we are talking about many products, not even one. And when we take it to the enterprise, like a global enterprise who has maybe offices everywhere in the world, like from Paris to Seattle to Singapore to Australia, it's a big thing. And then when it's throwing you events, yeah, you have got something that is going to really look at it, churn it, make it, that we normally call it SIM, but you need people to actually look at it. You need people to look at what is being churned and to prioritize it, to work on it, and to figure out what they have to do with that. So when you come to that stage that you have billions of events, and mind you, there are billions of events, so we see that, billions of events, and you have got some technology to churn them, and then you have got some team to look at that churning, which is already churning billions of events, okay? When you have those people, then again, you can churn billions of events to actually thousands of them, but still, you need something for those guys to read through thousands of them, okay? And then do a next level of churning to maybe hundreds of them. And that's where come the next level of tools which are going to do that, because the prior tool will not do this tool, this part, and this part will not do that part. And that's how the industry is made, okay? And then there are IS policies, there are priorities for those events, there are priorities in a way which will have impact. So out of those hundreds, you will have to sort of prioritize them. You will have to look at which of them is having a higher impact, which all is having a lower impact, and then you're going to figure out that once you find out the impact, how are you going to stick around and do the remedy, right? So you need another set of intelligence and another set of tools and a lot of data. So that means a lot of database. And then when you find out, based on a lot of these work, that okay, these are the set of things that out of those billions for that day, these are the 20 things which is really causing me a challenge, or which would be a challenge for me for today to solve. Then you put them onto the ambulance. You call up your ambulance, right? So you start sending those red marked emails, sending those alerts, put people in the team, and then you start working on that. And then that's what we call it, ambulance. And then when you put it onto the ambulance, you have to deal with so many different things, because ambulance goes to the hospital and there are so many departments. And then you have to take care of that, coordinate, do the remedy, right? So if you see, it is a big problem. It is not a small problem. This problem is going to exist. There will be tools that will further involve, and it is going to be a combination of technology, which is anyway evolving, people, the skills, real good skills, and then the process, which I think we are in a much better stage today with respect to the process globally. So this is a real, so we call it, you can say this is IOC. IOC is an event, so you can see this is a real graph, right? This happens inside a SOC for a global company. It's sort of a sample, but you can see these all dots are sort of events, and this is what you see, what you get. And it's not from a particular device, it's not from a particular location, it's not from a particular technology, it's not from a particular region, it is actually a concentrated. And then you have to solve it, and you have to bring it down to those 20 that you have to put inside your ambulance and solve it maybe in the same day. Otherwise, you are on a hot seat, right? So you see the contribution of having a good skill or skilled people, I would say that it is the highest in all the three. Then process, and maybe finally the tools, because the tools, they come and go, okay? So it's having a good high-skilled people, having a good process, and then a good selection of tools can only get you to solve this puzzle and get into those 20. Otherwise, the game is done for that day. And you don't know, you're already breezed, and you're already late, because churning and all that is already going to take time. And if you're not skilled, you'll try to figure it out in next 2 days or 3 days, get to your hierarchy, get to the vendor, get him what this means, go to your threat intelligence partner, find out with him, and by that time the whole game is over, because the whole hacking game, it just happens in few minutes, if not hours. And if you're not able to figure out, it is all gone. And we have seen that going in that direction. And if you think that this is really complex, then say this. This is a real one. This is a real one, which has been caught. The name is also there. So I just sort of pulled up these few slides from our set of slides in the company, so that we can really show you that this is how it is. This is a reality. This is not something which is just we talk over that, okay, you know. So, so we see that now here this whole session was towards what are the challenges, not towards the solution. But there are the organizations are working. So NIST is working. They have come up with the framework. Singapore is working. UK is working. So whole EU has gone ahead with GDPR, which have included cybersecurity. But on the other hand, there are ETSI, there are IEEE, and there are many other organizations who have got dedicated cybersecurity chapters, which are going on from few years to put in context the right standard, so that they can correlate, they can work in conjunction, they can integrate, and they can possibly try to figure out what could be the right way to solve these problems. So that brings me an end for my presentation. We have got 6 minutes. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and ask me. I'll be happy to answer anything.
Hello.